Okay, I think we are going to get started. We are going to be recording this pre-bid meeting. So this is the pre-bid for the local travel network project management and technical services RFQ. We were going to kick things off with a short presentation to provide you with a quick overview of the local travel network, which is the South Bay Cities COG, which is our creative approach for managing the existing street system within our subregion, one that is really focused on safely carrying a broad mix of slow speed modes at a maximum speed of 25 miles an hour. And our goal for this network is to support a mode shift from those large internal combustion engines or cars to those that might be more appropriate for the majority of short local trips that are taken by our South Bay residents. Actually, before we get started, I think we might just do a quick round of introductions for South Bay City's COG staff that are on this call. My name is Shannon Heffernan. I am a contract planner with the South Bay City's COG, and I work on a lot of our transportation and land use projects. And did you want to introduce yourself as well?
Sure. I'm Ann Tsai. I'm a transportation project coordinator with the South Bay COG. I work on our local travel network project as well as helping to manage the Measure R and Measure M sub-regional funds.
And Aaron?
Sure, thanks, Shannon. Aaron Baum, I'm a senior project manager here at the COG. I work on all things mobility, transportation, technology, and such.
And then Jake?
Yeah, hello everyone. Jake Romoff. I'm a project coordinator here at the COG. I work on transportation and land use.
Great. So I'm going to share my screen. Thanks for joining us this afternoon. I'm going to hand it over to Anne, and she's going to walk through a couple of some background slides.
Thanks, Shannon. Okay, so just a brief overview of who we are. The South Bay Cities Council of Governments is a joint powers authority of 16 cities in the South Bay, as well as some unincorporated areas of LA County and Council District 15 in the city of LA. And we share the goal of improving transportation and the environment, strengthening economic development for residents of the South Bay. And we are responsible for facilitating collaboration between our cities, conducting planning and research in areas such as transportation, mobility, and sustainability. So through our research, we emerged with the local travel network as Shannon explained. It is a sub-regional network of streets on our existing street system designed to safely accommodate micromobility modes. That is everything from as small as an e-scooter to an e-bike, a regular bike, up to the largest size, which are golf carts or neighborhood electric vehicles. So the network is defined by these attributes. For the most part, we designate streets that are 25 miles per hour in speed limit. And these streets are then striped with road markings and overlaid with the wayfinding signage branded by the Rolling Turtle, as you can see in the photo in the center. Um, the key safety component of this local travel network is that all of the routes will lead micromobility users to protected intersections, whether that's a four-way stop sign or a signalized intersection. And then we also hope to accommodate micromobility, parking, and charging amenities to really encourage that fully connected, robust network. Next slide. So these attributes contribute to these strategies that we are trying to target. One, to establish safe routes for slow-moving vehicles, to connect neighborhoods to local destinations, that being like schools, parks, retail, etc. Again, to identify protected intersections for busy crossings. So where the network intersects with major arterials, they will always lead the user to a protected intersection to separate that local traffic from through traffic, expand bike lane access to all forms of micromobility, and then to promote what we call right sizing your ride in our community. So that's picking the right sized device for your local trip. Okay, so the cities that are currently implementing the local travel network, so The city of El Segundo has a pilot project that was implemented in November 2023. The city of Redondo Beach will be implementing this fall. Carson, Lomita, and Lawndale are all beginning their design phases. City of El Segundo is also looking to expand their current network. They implemented about 10 miles, so they will expand to the full network and look to forming those connections to their neighboring cities. Um, Other cities throughout the South Bay and the unincorporated parts are also in the pipeline.
Thanks, Anne. So as an increasing number of our member jurisdictions opt in to implement the local travel network, city staff and jurisdictional staff have expressed some challenges in their own capacity to develop their Measure M LTN project proposals, iterate PS&E design, and deliver final projects, and are looking to the South Bay City's COG to provide support and extra capacity to implement the LTN and supportive roadway improvements. So this is actually why we are helping to facilitate the creation of this bench. And based on the areas of need identified by our member jurisdictions, we've identified the following 7 focus areas or disciplines for support from consultants with expertise in transportation planning, transportation engineering, as well as outreach services. So I'm just going to walk through quickly these 7 disciplines. The first is planning and engineering design to support micromobility. This includes the LTN core elements, as well as other street and traffic calming measures or facilities that are really focused on improving safety and connectivity. LTN enhancements with bicycle infrastructure or the integration of the LTN with existing and planned bike infrastructure in our member jurisdictions. Transportation planning and engineering studies to support micromobility infrastructure on major arterials or speeds above 35 miles an hour. Experimental roadway treatments, the evaluation of the LTN and related safety enhancements, and then engagement and outreach materials. So this would include materials like LTN messaging, other outreach materials, and media kit elements. And then lastly, support for our member jurisdictions with their Measure M applications and grant development for active transportation services and other micro-mobility related projects. So our member jurisdictions, in addition to expressing the need for those 7 disciplines, they also expressed a need for project management services across all of the disciplines to assist with oversight of micromobility infrastructure, planning, design, and implementation. And some of the project management services identified may include coordination with vendors, providing in-field oversight, participating in project meetings with city staff to share project updates, verifying compliance with MUTCD standards and other applicable requirements, and then also developing pre-construction and implementation schedules for some of those project phases as appropriate. So I'm going to turn it over to Anne to talk a little bit about how the consultant bench will work.
Thanks, Shannon. Okay, so the bench will be open and in effect for 2 years, starting from the approval date. And our COG member jurisdictions will then have the opportunity to enter into contract agreements with consultants on the approved pre-qualified list when or if needs arise. So we envision the bench to work in 3 ways. 1, jurisdictions may enter into sole source contracts with the pre-qualified firms for 1 or more disciplines. Jurisdictions may issue an RFP to the bench. So that's a limited solicitation. And then lastly, the jurisdictions may also issue a public solicitation. Okay, and then once the firms are selected for the consultant bench, they of course will be notified by us, the COG. Following the selection, member jurisdictions will coordinate directly with firms on the bench regarding task orders and bid opportunities. And then we can also provide the following resources to the selected firms, city standard contract language, and then also a list of their sole source contract thresholds.
So I did want to just go over some of the submission requirements. So because we do have a number of disciplines, we wanted to provide some guidance for the consultant teams and firms that would be submitting proposals. So if you are submitting for one discipline, the proposal shall not exceed 15 pages. This is excluding resumes and references that are not included in that 15-page count. And for any additional discipline that you submit under, you would have an additional 5 pages to provide qualifications or an approach related to that discipline. So overall, if you are submitting for all of the disciplines, your proposal should not exceed 50 pages. In addition to that, our required proposal organization structure includes a cover letter, the executive summary, which we are limiting to 3 pages maximum, the firm or team's qualifications, the project manager and key staff qualifications, your consultant team or firm's capacity to complete work, labor rates, and again, references which are not included in that page count. I also wanted to go over some key dates in our procurement schedule. The RFQ, of course, was released this last Monday, May 12th. We have the proposal meeting that we are all part of today. Our deadline to submit questions is Friday, May 23rd at 4 p.m. Our approach for the Q&A is we typically do rolling responses to questions that we received. So if you submit your questions early, we'll be answering them as we receive them. But just keep in mind the overall question deadline is Friday, May 23rd at 4 p.m. The proposal due date is Friday, June 20th at 4 p.m. And from there, our proposal review committee will be reviewing the responses received and then providing a recommendation for approval of the bench to the steering committee on Monday, July 24th. And then the board will approve the bench on Thursday, July 24th. And then we will be notifying the consultants of selection. In addition, we wanted to go over some of the questions that we have already received since we've released the RFQ, as well as some anticipated questions that we think you may have, and then we could open it up to questions from the attendees on this call.
So the first question that we received is, when is this project expected to go to bid for contractors? What is the expected start date for construction? So each city is on its own project timeline, and each city determines its own design and construction schedule depending on the scope of each project. These schedules are highly subject to change, but we have inserted this timeline with some of the rough dates for the construction milestones in the cities that will likely be employing or using this bench.
The next question we received was, would the COG prefer that prime firms include a full team of subconsultants to fulfill all possible services within each discipline they apply for? Or is the preference to add subconsultants as needed as task orders and projects arise? What the South Bay Cities prefers is that the proposers submit qualifications for a complete team. However, should opportunities arise where additional subconsultants are needed, the consultants may propose new subconsultants when responding to a task order or RFP. So the screening and selection of the new subconsultants will then be at the discretion of the cities or member jurisdictions and not the South Bay Cities COG. And then another question that we had anticipated is, under the proposal requirements, what is the difference between Section B, which is the executive summary, that section that is limited to 3 pages maximum, and then Section C, which is the firm qualification. So what we're envisioning for the executive summary is it should include the consultant team's firm profiles and identify the disciplines that the consultant team or firm is responding to. And then the firm qualification section should detail the team's approach or the firm's approach to the work, relevant experience, and then, of course, any relevant project examples. And then that concludes our presentation. We could open it up for any additional questions. We could also post the pre-bid presentation on the COG's website for you to access as you are working on your responses to the RFQ. But I just wanted to see if there were any other questions.
I have a question.
Hi, Nina.
Hi. So you said that the bench is 2 years. Is there an opportunity for extension, or are the projects that you listed kind of all of the projects that you anticipate will be completed under the bench? And it'll end in, like, will there be an extension potentially if there's more project, or does it just end after those and projects are done?
That's a great question. I think that was one thing we were considering was an option to extend a year. And I think what we could do is we could have a conversation with our member cities that will be using this bench, because again, some timelines may shift to see if they would definitely benefit from a longer, I guess, bench period.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions?
Sorry, I was late to unmute. Do you have a sense of how large you anticipate the bench being? Is that entirely, is there a set number, or will that be based on the number of submissions and scoring?
Hi, I think that will definitely be based on the submissions and scoring. We do have our member cities that will be part of our proposal review committee as well. And we don't have a set number for the number of consultants or firms that we are looking to pre-qualify, but we also have heard from the cities that there is definitely a need for these services, and so we would like to pre-qualify as many firms as possible. Assuming they have the qualifications. Yes.
I can't find my raise hand button for some reason. Can you hear
Oh,
me?
hi. Yes.
Can you talk a little bit more about Discipline 7, the grant support? Um is this Measure M like applying directly to Metro for like Measure M active transportation funds? Is this applying for the SBC COG Measure M funds? Who are the applications going to in this case?
Yeah, Anne and Aaron, did you want to take that one?
Sure, I'll take a crack at it. All of the above. Um, the bench is primarily set up and designed to support cities and city staff in their application for our sub-regional Measure M funds. So the process flows through the COG to program the monies, which Metro then approves, and funding agreements are then established between Metro and the cities. That said, there may potentially be an opportunity for this bench to support some ancillary projects that the COG itself might want to produce in support of the subregional network. Those are not yet defined, but they would fall under those seven categorically, those seven tasks. Anne?
I think you explained it well, Aaron. I have nothing to add.
Okay, great. Well, if there aren't any more questions, just wanted to remind all of you that the deadline to submit questions is Friday, May 23rd at 4 p.m. If you submit your question earlier than that, just continue to look at the COG's website, because we will be working internally to answer your questions as we receive them.
And the deadline for submission is when again?
Thanks, Erin. It's Friday, June 20th at 4 p.m.
Okay, thank you.
Right. Well, we appreciate the time that you spent with us this afternoon. And again, email us or submit your questions and we will answer them as soon as we get them.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.